Hello! Imagine for a moment that you're living in a fairy tale, except there is no place for graceful princesses and fairy godmothers. This magical world is inhabited by ugly creatures, dark magic, and riddled with the lowest of human passions and deeds. Watch the video to the end to learn about the dark side of the royal castle dwellers' fairy tale lives. In the kingdom of Longtrellis, the court festivities are in full swing. Merry jesters, clowns, and jugglers entertain the noble lords and rulers of the realm. The courtiers laugh gleefully at the absurd antics of the dressed-up servants. But this spectacle does not amuse the gloomy and stern ruler. The queen coldly observes the performance and the laughing audience, and upon seeing a pregnant performer, hastily leaves the throne room. Huddled in the corner of her chambers, the inconsolable queen weeps bitter tears as she cannot deliver an heir. The compassionate king tenderly reassures her consort, promising to find a solution. That same night, a mysterious old man in black robes unexpectedly appears in the castle and offers the rulers a magic way to produce a child. The queen must eat the heart of a sea monster cooked by a virgin, and in the same instant, a new life will be born inside of her. The brave king of the kingdom of Longtrellis is determined to capture the underwater monster. Wearing a heavy diving suit and carrying a spear, he sets out for the seabed. Cautiously creeping on the sleeping dragon, the king mercilessly plunges the steel needle into its head, but he is unable to slay the beast at once. In its death throes, the monster lunges violently and topples the king onto his back, dealing a fatal blow with its powerful tail. The dead monster and dying king are dragged ashore, where seeing the monster's heart carved out, the exhausted monarch humbly bids farewell to life. The arriving queen ignores her husband's lifeless body and carries off her coveted prey, gently holding it in her arms like a baby. The heart is given to a virgin girl in the kitchen, who immediately throws it into a vat of boiling water. As the thick white smoke billows from the cauldron, the girl becomes dizzy. She has to unbutton the tight hem of her dress because unexpectedly, her belly begins to grow. The boiled heart is served to the queen on a platter, and she bloodthirstily sinks her teeth into the soft flesh, carefully chewing each piece. That same evening, 2 babies are born in the court at the same time. 16 years go by. Having made her one and only long-awaited son the center of her life, the queen of the kingdom of Longtrellis knows no other amusement than to spend time playing games with the young Prince Elias and waiting for his mutual all-encompassing love. But the young heir prefers the company of the court-made son. The boys are similar, like 2 drops of water, to that of his mother. To keep the child's attention, the jealous queen threatens the mother of the homeless twin to expel them from the court if the friendship she hates does not cease immediately. The promiscuous king of Strongcliff knows no measure for carnal pleasures and is wandering drunkenly through the castle, looking for a maiden to amuse him, when a stranger with a marvelous voice draws his attention. Fascinated by the song, the king longs to see the young lady and, as a token of his attention, sends a page boy with a precious gift for her. But the box ends up in the hands of 2 ugly old women, to whose door the king himself arrives the same evening, driven by passion and begging for a rendezvous. The eldest of the ugly sisters, Dora, not wanting to miss the opportunity, promises the impatient king a date in a week, during which she will show him just her finger. And in the kingdom of High Hills, the beautiful young Princess Violet enthusiastically performs a musical piece for her beloved father. However, the king is not fascinated by his daughter's talent and is more concerned with a small flea that hops amusingly from one of his hands to the other. The surprised king is delighted by the insect's nimble tricks and hurries away, rewarding his own daughter only with restrained applause. Locked in his room, he marvels at his new pet, fed with blood from the king's finger. The flea is rapidly growing and gaining weight. The young princess, deprived of her father's love and attention, wants to marry and speaks to the king about it. The girl excitedly describes how she sees her future beloved and asks her father to find a suitable groom as soon as possible. However, the king does not care much about his daughter's future. When she has finished speaking, he only wants to have a meal and feed his beloved pet. He brings a dish of raw meat to his chamber and watches in amusement as the flea, which has grown to the size of a dog, disposes of its food. In the kingdom of Strongcliff, the ruler is still obsessed with her maternal feelings and arranges for her beloved son to be entertained by a circus bear, ceaselessly observing Princess Elias's reactions. In the evening, she summons the boy to her chambers to help her choose earrings. She notices that something is wrong, however. The prince's hands are untidy and his clothes smell foul. To confirm her suspicions, the queen secretly overhears a conversation in the prince's room. The fatherless twin gleefully tells the boy that he was in the queen's chambers, and she could not tell the difference between the imposter and her own son. Encouraged by this news, the twins make a grand plan for how they will rule an entire kingdom together in the future, completely forgetting about the queen herself. She interrupts the dreamy conversation of the boys with a knock at the door. Quickly hiding the double in the closet, Elias lets her in, the resentful mother reminds her son once again.
No one will ever love you like I do.
As soon as the queen leaves, the prince's friend bids him farewell and travels home through a secret tunnel where he gets ambushed. The vengeful queen, wishing to get rid of the only rival for her son's attention, sneakily attacks him with a flaming torch in her hands. Hiding among the hanging carcasses, the twin manages to escape unharmed. The next day, the queen and her son are posing for a painter when Elias sees his best friend Jonah saying goodbye to his family. After saddling his horse, he immediately rides out of town. The worried prince catches up with him, trying to find out what is wrong. Having always been friendly, Jonah now speaks coldly to the prince and informs him discreetly that he must leave. Elias is desperate and opposed to this, but there's no way to stop his determined friend. At parting, Jonah shows the prince the stream at the roots of a mighty tree, telling him that the water will show the flow of his life.
If the water runs clear, I know that my life too is clear and serene. And if it runs muddy, you know that I'm in trouble.
In the Kingdom of High Hills, meanwhile, the eldest of the ugly sisters prepares for her rendezvous with the king, patiently trying to rejuvenate the aged skin on her hands. All attempts are in vain, and the affectionate king is already at the door, insisting that the promise be fulfilled. In panic, an unexpected solution is found. The index finger on the hand of Emma's younger sister looks young and attractive because of her habit of putting it in her mouth. Slipping it through a hole in the door, the sister invokes an instant delight for the king, who immediately insists that the enigmatic beauty reveal her entire appearance to him here and now. Fearful of their impending meeting, Dora nevertheless agrees to the invitation, on the condition that their secret rendezvous will take place in complete darkness. The following day, Emma spends preparing her sister for a date by laboriously gluing the folds of her saggy skin with hot wax. As night falls, Dora goes to the king's chamber, and the court page graciously extinguishes all burning candles on her way. The passionate night is past, yet the king's curiosity is not satisfied. Eager to see the mysterious mistress, he brings a burning candle to her face. The stunned king sees an ugly old woman before him, and the more daylight is let into the room, the more he is convinced of her hideous appearance. The guards immediately arrive at the king's shouts, and wrapped in a blanket, the frightened old woman is ruthlessly thrown out the window. Dora miraculously escapes death by getting stuck in the branches of a tree with her blanket. There, she is found by a strange, wandering woman. She helps the tormented old lady down from the tree, and nursing her like a baby, feeds her with breast milk. This causes a miracle to happen. Dora's skin is smoothed out, and she transforms into a young, red-headed girl. Later that day, the king of Strongcliff and his retinue go out to hunt wild boar. The boar swiftly eludes his pursuers along uncharted forest paths, and leads the hunters to a different prey. With weapons at the ready, the king stumbles upon a naked young beauty who charms him at first sight. Misfortune befalls the ruler of the Kingdom of High Hills, and in the night, he urgently summons a healer to his chambers. Shocked by what he sees, the healer is frozen. There is a huge, suffocating flea in front of him. He has no time to do anything to save the terrible monster. Using the skin of his dead pet, the narcissistic king decides to mock his subjects and his own daughter by organizing a tournament for the contenders for the heart and hand of Violet. Expecting that no one will be able to guess which animal the skin belongs to, all worthy men were wrong in their guesses. And just for fun, the king admits a giant ogre to the tournament, who, to everyone's surprise, reveals that the skin was taken from a flea. Fearing the disgrace of an unfulfilled promise, the wicked king forces his daughter to live with the terrifying ogre. The giant takes the weeping princess to his home, a cold cave on a high cliff. Elias, the prince of Long Trellis, hastily leaves the castle in the early morning, in secret from his queen mother. The muddy stream water at the roots of the mighty tree indicates that Jonah is in trouble. The search leads the weary prince to a ruined village, where a pregnant girl, Phoenicia, rushes into his arms with joyful cries. From her, he learns that 5 days ago, Jonah went into the woods. The harsh and gloomy queen, desperate to find her son, once again turns to the old man in a black robe for help. She is ready to find the prince at any cost. Elias, on the other hand, wanders through the woods in search of his friend, who appears to have fallen into an underground cave. Hearing noises outside, the exhausted Jonah assumes there are people nearby. However, a huge, furious bat arrives at his desperate cry for help. The mad creature attacks, trapping him in a dead end and trying to finish him off. Elias, who arrived just in time, kills the monster, rescues his friend from the fatal trap, and safely returns home, never knowing that the monster in the cave was his own mother. The future Queen of Strongcliff sends a page with an outstanding dress and an invitation to the wedding to her sister Emma, who that very evening, looking most ridiculous, appears at the royal palace to see her beloved sister. However, walking hand in hand with the king, she is surprised to see not Dora, but a young, unknown beauty. Having found the right moment, the queen drags her sister away to talk in privacy. Happy Dora tells her of her new attractive appearance and life, and promises that she will now take care of the younger sister. However, the ugly old woman cannot live in the castle. Helpless Ima, on the other hand, after her long separation from Dora, does not want to put up with parting again, and moreover, wants to live in a beautiful castle like her queen sister. Disobeying instructions to go home, the pesky Ima shows up unexpectedly in the queen's bedroom just before the wedding night. Now hideous in comparison to her older sister, Ima begs her to tell her how to regain her youth. Dora, infuriated by her sister's intrusiveness, angrily declares,
I changed my— No! I had myself flayed!
At this time, the king's hurried footsteps sound from the corridor. With no other way out of the bedroom, the girl hides her ugly sister in a closet and strictly orders her not to come out under any circumstances. But poor Ima is unable to carry out even this instruction. She does not simply sneak a peek, but goes out and openly stares at the young couple. Seeing the ugly woman in his bedroom for the second time, the furious king promptly orders the guards to take her away immediately. The old woman takes her sister's words literally, and the next morning, the abandoned and humiliated Ima approaches a knife sharpener, and to the man's surprise, asks him to skin her, offering all her jewelry in return. The enterprising craftsman quickly agrees and takes the ugly old woman into the woods, where he scalps her with a sharp knife. After a while, like a walking dead man in a bloody dress, Ima climbs the steps leading to the castle with the last of her strength. In the kingdom of Strongcliff, meanwhile, the already wild Princess Violet unexpectedly spots a peasant woman on the other side of the ravine, and immediately begs her to rescue her from the captivity of the terrible giant. The stranger cannot do this on her own, and soothes the weeping princess by promising to return for her in the morning with her sons. The next day, Princess Violet, hanging dressed wild animal skins to dry, keeps sneaking glances to the other side of the valley. However, it turns out that help is much closer than she expected. From behind a huge boulder, a young black-haired guy beckons the princess to come closer. He turns out to be an excellent rope walker too, crossing to the other side of the ravine with Violet on his shoulders. The giant butcher immediately smells the strangers, and seeing his wife kidnapped, rushes after them with furious shouts, rapidly approaching the opposite edge of the steep cliff. However, the agile rope walker is faster, and his brother manages to cut the rope right in front of the terrible giant's face, so he falls to the bottom of the deep ravine. The friendly group, along with the rescued Princess Violet, are riding carefree in a carriage, entertaining themselves with fire tricks and juggling, when the fierce giant, who has somehow survived, suddenly appears out of nowhere to slaughter the hated humans. In an agonizing fight for their lives, the entire peasant family is killed. The poor Violet desperately tries to flee, but her final attempt ends in failure. The terrifying giant easily finds his wife, using his extraordinary sense of smell. Accepting the desperate situation, the girl voluntarily surrenders. The humble giant beckons the captive to climb on his shoulders, and once behind the giant, Violet mercilessly slits his throat with the knife she had hidden. Taking her ex-husband's head as a trophy, bloodied and exhausted, the princess returns to the royal castle. Rulers and subjects of neighboring kingdoms gather for the coronation ceremony of the courageous Violet, and there, the young red-headed imposter turns into a nasty old woman again. As always, you'll find the movie title in the description of the video, and let us know in the comments which of the 3 stories you liked most. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next awesome retelling.